Hello, everybody, and welcome to the inaugural episode of the Punchin Ticket Show. I am your host, Nick Dini, along with my co-host, my best friend, Jake Kalish. Jake, what's going on, brother?
Let's get it going, dude. I'm super excited. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit nervous for the pilot, but I'm super excited, man. Let's get it rolling.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited too. This has been a long time coming, in my opinion. Like we've done this in the comfy confines of our own apartments, like across the minor league landscape. So we figured, why not just take this to a mic? Because I think we have some good insight, which leads me into why we are doing this. And I just think in short, you have two guys who kind of defied the odds and carved out a very, long, successful playing careers for themselves. And really the odds and the deck stacked up against both of us. So I think it would be awesome if we could just get into the weeds and kind of share our stories, our experiences with everybody, baseball fans, players, coaches, kids that are aspiring to be in positions that you are currently in, that I had been in for the last 10 years of my life, covering baseball from little league to the big leagues, bus rides, all the nuance that comes with playing professionally. And I think that kind of sums up why we came to the decision to do this. And I couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, man. I mean, we'd spend how many nights over the years talking ball and getting to know each other and just kind of running into a bunch of different people and learning from them. And why not just take that same information that we've learned over the course of our careers and try and help other people along the way, and also kind of touch on like what's going on right now in the game. I love the game still. I love watching. I love paying attention. There's a lot of good things going on, and there's some things that maybe we can touch on and hopefully clean up for the future. But yeah, I mean, we're trying to get these episodes out as often as possible. We're going to start about one a week for now, and then hope to get a guest on as we start to roll and have multiple guests and try and get out two a week and just kind of get them out to you guys as quickly as possible and hear your feedback. And if you want to listen, log on to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, which will be at Punchin Tickets Podcast. And we look forward to you guys tuning in.
So I was saying, like, for me personally, you miss a lot about baseball, like playing the game. It was my whole life, and I was going to say a part of my life, but when I think about it, it's been my whole life for the last 25 years, beyond just my professional playing career. And I think as I enter this new chapter of my life as, a husband, a father, what I miss the most is being around the guys and just talking baseball with kids and with guys who are like-minded and are in the weeds and grinding it out. I miss those conversations and I miss those relationships on the day-to-day basis in the clubhouse. So I've been getting on podcasts and talking baseball, and I've really enjoyed it. And I say all the time, if we can reach one person and help one person along their baseball journey, then I think what we're doing here is worth it. I truly believe our experiences will be able to help a little bit more than that, but from a base level, if that's all it takes, then I think what we're doing is worth it. So we're really excited to get this going. And while we do that, I kind of just wanted to give a little background into who my co-host, who Jake Kalish is. He's a left-handed pitcher who graduated from RBR High School in New Jersey. He was a George Mason grad and a Royals 2015 32nd round pick. He was with the Kansas City Royals organization from 2015 to 21. Went on to play in the Los Angeles Angels organization in 2022 and 23. In 2016, he was a Royals organizational all-star, which in turn led to a 2017 invite to be on the World Baseball Classic Team Israel. In 2018, played winter ball in the Dominican League for Gigantes, and 2021 for Estrellas. In 2022, he was the PCL left-handed starter of the year, which is a hell of an accomplishment. And if anybody knows anything about the PCL, not very pitcher-friendly. So hats off to you there, JK.
Thank you, sir.
And he is currently pitching for the Uni President Lions in the Chinese Professional Baseball League, and he is in Taiwan. So that's a little rundown of who my co-host is. Very proud of what you've done and what you're currently still doing. So
I appreciate it, man.
Bro.
I appreciate it. Yeah, this is live from the Shanhua district of Tainan in Taiwan. I don't know. Didn't think that would ever be a thing, but hey, here we are. But I appreciate it, man. That's very kind words, and I think the exact same way about you. But I want to kind of gloat on you a little bit here and get into your career and what you've done and who you are. And obviously, Nick was a major league catcher, but before all that, he was a Monroe High School grad, and then played for the Wagner Seahawks in Staten Island, the NEC baseball. Which absolutely fun conference, weather, all that good stuff. Guy just had to grind through the elements and kind of helped shape who he is today. He's a Royals 2015 14th round pick, and was with the Royals organization from 2015 all the way through 2021. Then he was with the Mets in 2022, and then the Tampa Bay Rays in 2023. Nick was also a 2017 and 2019 Royals organizational all-star. And in that 2017 season had boasted him an invite to this Arizona Fall League for the Saguaros. Hope I said that one right. And it was a 2018 Texas League all-star, and then made his debut in 2019 with Kansas City. And was so altogether a 9-year professional career. And now Nick is he is the NJ catching guy. All right. So if you guys haven't checked him out on Instagram, go do that. One of the best catching development pages you can see out there. He's always putting out good stuff and helping the guys that he works with on a daily basis and helping everybody else that's just out there looking to get better. And just one more thing that Nick is doing now, he is going to start running the Tri-State Arsenal Monmouth County team. So all you Monmouth County people that are listening to this podcast and you want to have somebody that's going to make sure that you're going in the right direction and is taking care of you and your kids, this is the guy you want to be with. But having said all that, I think we ought to give these people an idea of how we came to be such good friends, because we weren't didn't start out like that, did it, Nick?
No, it didn't. Well, it's funny. I want you to take this this story, because from your perspective, it was a little different than mine. But I mean, now that I hear it, it kind of sounds like something I would do. So I think maybe you give them your perspective, and then I will give mine.
Yeah. So just a little bit of just a look inside to what the draft process looked like for me. I was drafted in the 32nd round, like Nick said. And when I got drafted, I immediately went to the Royals draft and saw who was drafted, and just to see if there's anybody I knew. You play with guys through college ball, summer ball, and you're hoping that you might know somebody. Anyway, I happened to see Nick was drafted, and it's a New Jersey guy, and I'm like, all right, perfect. Like, this is gonna be my guy, right? Obviously. So I fly out to Arizona, where the draft mini camp for that year is for the Royals in Phoenix. And I'm at the airport, get my bags, go outside to where there's a van waiting for all the guys that flew in on the same time. And I throw my bags on, and there's Nick. So I'm like, perfect. I'm like, hey, Nick, you're Nick Dini, right? Like from Monroe, like New Jersey. And he just kind of like looks at me, like turns back around. He's like, yep. I'm like, wow.
I still don't really believe that story, but I'll.
I can see it from I can see it. You're sitting in the front row of the van, and it's like quick turnaround. Like no, but anyway, yeah, we weren't really friends at first, and we weren't really on the same team at all. Really, that first season in 2015. Fast forward to 2016, we go to extended for a bit, and then Nick goes out to Lexington. I want to say before me, correct? Or was that not the case?
No, not in 16. Well, if you really want to talk about a relationship, let's fast forward to 26. Like, let's talk 2016. So
Yeah, definitely.
we both don't break camp out of spring training. So we
Yeah.
go to extended spring training. So Jake is a big Star Wars guy, and I am not a Star Wars guy. I don't really know anything about Star Wars. Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, that's about it on my end. But he would come into the weight room every day. So we would.
Oh shoot, Nick, I think I don't hear you, kid. Sorry. No. Sorry about that, folks. Nick's gonna try and figure that out while I kind of keep it running here a little bit. Yeah. So anyway, I'm a big Star Wars guy. We go into the we go into the weight room every single day, and I'd be like, Nick Dini, because some of the Jawas, if you're a Star Wars fan at all, that's how they would. It kind of sounded like Nick Dini if you said it quick like that. And Nick was just not a fan of that whatsoever. And then Nick, if you got sound, just try and jump in whenever. Try your output on the, or excuse me, input on the. So we're going to pause real quick, ladies and gentlemen, for a timeout.
So every day we would eat breakfast, and then we would go to the weight room and get ourselves rolled out, do whatever mobility, get ourselves ready for the day. And Jake and one of his buddies from George Mason, Luke Willis, I'll never forget. Every time they saw me, they would do this stupid thing where they would call Nick Dini, and I'd be like, and it just irritated the hell out of me. I hated it, and it was just like I gave them nothing. So I was just like, these guys are so goddamn annoying, and I really want to know part of them. And on top of that, it was like Jake's trying to invite me to like Star Wars screenings that they're doing when they get back to the hotel. Like 3 of them would get together and go watch Star Wars. And it's like, why don't you come watch so you could like get the joke? And I'm like, I want no part of this joke. Like, I just, no.
I don't know why.
I'll see you tomorrow.
I don't know why I was like so hell bent on like making that like a joke.
It was insane. It was insane.
Yeah.
It was like
But-
I couldn't stand it. I was like, we weren't like tight like that. And it's just like you come in and it's Nick Dini. And I'm like, ew.
Well, for all you Star Wars fans out there, when the Jawas talk to each other, they kind of make a sound that sounds like that. If you know what I'm talking about, you get it. But yeah, in retrospect, it wasn't really the best way to try and conjure up any sort of camaraderie between the two of us. So, but anyway, let's fast forward to Lexington. I'm in Lexington, which is our low A affiliate in 2016, and then Nick, you were just gotten there, because we both kind of had just gotten there, because like he said, we were Go ahead.
Yeah, you had gotten there before I did, and then I got there literally right before short season were about to break. So I damn near did a whole extended spring training before I got out of there. Went to Lexington. You had been there. Then I played one game there. I got there. We actually had a doubleheader. We were rained out. I played one 7-inning game. We go back to the room that night with the apartment complex that we're all staying at. I'm sleeping on a blow up mattress.
Yeah, you're on the floor, right? Room. Yeah.
Well, it might have been the floor, honestly. I just got there, so it probably was.
Well,
I probably slept on the floor. So then.
And you were woken up by who after that that first day in Lexington?
One night I was woken up barging in the door by the Nick Dini.
Well, what happened is that we weren't at the same apartment, but I remember being in my apartment, which was next door. We were all in the same complex. But I was next door and I'm playing cards that night after the game. And there's a random number calling me. I have no idea who it is. And I'm just like, I'm not answering. An hour or so goes by and then the same number calls me back again. I'm like, dude, like, what is going spam? I'm not answering this. And then at like 5 a.m. or so, my phone starts buzzing. I hear it, wakes me up. It's the same number. I was like, all right, like, I'll pick it up. So I pick it up and it's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, sleeping. Who's this? He's like, this is Omar, your manager in Lexington. Like, you're going to Wilmington. You're going to High A like this morning, like right now. I was like, oh my gosh, sorry. He's like, yeah, I've been trying to call you. I was like, sorry about that. He's like, well, get your bags. And by the way, go get Dini because I'm trying to call him and I can't get a hold of him. He's going with you. So I like grab all my stuff as quick as I can, run over to the apartment next door, bang on the door. And yeah, there's Nick's on the ground. I'm like, dude, get your stuff. We got to go. Like, we're going to the airport right now. And boom, there we go.
Which was crazy, but
crazy.
I mean, I haven't even settled into low A baseball. I played one game and it's like, oh, you're going to high A.
Yeah.
Which kind of, signaled what I was in the organization. And like I said, I mean, I was too naive at the time to understand, kind of what my role was and like what kind of value I brought to an organization at that time. But that was the example for me was, you go to low A, I'm thinking, oh, promotion, this is awesome. And then you get there and you realize one of the catchers is hurt. And then a day later, you're going to high A and it's like, well, there's usually a progression that's made, right? Like you go to a level, you have success, and then you get a promotion onto the next level and see if you can hack it up there. For me, it was like, I was an extended for 2.5 months. I get out, I go a day, play 7 innings, and now I'm going to high A. So it was a little weird for me, but I was like excited nonetheless. Like, we played our high A baseball was the closest that we got to New Jersey. We were in Delaware, Wilmington, Delaware. Yep. And so as close to home as I can get. So it was exciting, but I also was a little bit confused, but it kind of molded our friendship in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you got to Wilmington, your mom brought down a car for you, and that was huge because transportation, especially early on in your minor league career, is really tough to come by, especially guys that were bouncing around, like Nick had just said. But yeah, he took me to the field every single day, and we ended up bonding over to some little mom and pop bagel store in Newcastle, Delaware, that we'd stop every morning and grab a pork roll and cheese, which for all those Jersey people out there, you know what I'm talking about. One of the best breakfast sandwiches on the planet, in my opinion. But then really it wasn't until 2017 until, these long conversations happened and kind of molded what we planned this podcast to be. And that was in Double A, end of May, early June, if I'm not mistaken, right, Nick? Something like that when you got there? I got there like end of May, sometime around then, and I want to say you were there shortly after.
Yeah, May 30th, I got called up to go to Double A. So that's another crazy story. So 2016, I go to Delaware. I was there for 3 weeks. I end up getting demoted back to low A. I go back to Lexington. My first at bat back, I break my hand. So I had 2 stops in Lexington, and I had 3 at bats and played a total of 8 innings in Lexington with some starts in high A mixed in there. And I end up going back to Arizona, rehabbing a broken hand, finished the year back where I started the year prior. And next thing you know, you look up and you're 2 seasons in and you really haven't gotten anywhere. Like, I'm stuck in the mud. 2017 comes and I am going back to Lexington. So I break camp. I'm going to Lexington, get off to an okay start, but really started turning it on in May. Jake you'd been in high A, called
I was
up
in high
to
A.
Double A. Yep. You'd been started in high A, got dominated there early, got called up to Double A. I'm in like I said, I'm in low A, and at the end of May, I get a call into Scott Dorman's office, who was the Lexington manager at the time, and he had asked me, and it was really a funny story because I had like hurt my thumb in that game. And after the game, he calls me into the office. He's like, "Hey, how's the thumb?" I'm like, "No, I'm good. Like, I'll be fine." And he's like, "Are you good enough to go catch for Vance in Double A tomorrow?" So I'm like, "Oh shit!" Like, yeah, I am. Like, let's
Well,
go.
yeah, for those of you who don't know, Vance Wilson, now third base coach for the Royals, he was the Double A manager at the time, and in the organization, I mean, I know he still holds this reputation, but at that time, when he was the manager in Double A, it was, if you could make an impression on Vance, the organization would take that to heart a lot. So it was really a big opportunity for Nick, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want to kind of jump in on
No,
that point because, I mean, Nick shows up to Double A, and kind of like he's been saying, with not really a roadmap for him to get to where he wants to go in the game. And I mean, the guy just absolutely hits the ground running and dominates. I mean, he's raking um, Double A pitching, which a lot of people would say in the minor leagues that Double A is a really big jump. It kind of tells you whether or not you can actually play at the highest level. I mean, it was just absolute domination. And, I kind of was trying to coattail him a little bit, and that mojo just kind of worked. And him and I started, working together quite often. And we both were on rolls, and that just kind of brought that camaraderie. Obviously, when things are going good, it's a little bit easier. The medicine goes down a little bit. And, yeah, we just started spending a ton of time together, going out after games, getting food, to and from the ballpark, and then just spending late nights, like kind of talking up like where we want to go and who we think we are as players. And then this has kind of been the foundation for what this podcast is going to be. Um, and yeah, it was just a really awesome time for the both of us. But I think we should backtrack to that very first day in Arizona after we got drafted in 2015. Don't you think?
well, yeah, because I think it allows people to kind of see into kind of the mindset and how we, approach the game and approach this opportunity. Um, so yeah, yeah, so I I think we backtrack and talk about that first experience, that first encounter when we arrive at our hotel in Phoenix, and they kind of have a meeting with the new draftees to explain, you know, professional baseball. So why don't you take that away? Because you brought this
Yeah,
story up to me, and then I was like, oh shit, that did happen. Because it was
yeah.
so far removed that like I just like erased it from from my memory.
Yeah, yeah. It was the first day official like get together for everybody that had just been drafted that year in 2015. And I remember we're in the weight room in Phoenix actually because the Royals complex was under construction, so we were technically in Phoenix. But anyway, they set everybody down in the weight room, and I remember they're just being kind of like that first day jitters and that kind of hush around everybody, and out comes now current GM of the Royals, JJ Piccolo, who was the assistant GM at the time, and the head of scouting, Lonnie Goldberg, and they come out and address everybody. And really the gist of the message was, congratulations on getting drafted and being a professional baseball player. But look around, okay? Look around, see who's here, because this game is not going to give everyone that opportunity to wear the Royals uniform at the big league level. This game is going to chew a lot of guys out, and a lot of these guys in this room won't be here next year. I mean, think about that. In 7 months' time, when we come back for spring training in 2016, that a lot of the faces that you see here will not be there. And with my experience, having my brother in the game, I kind of knew what this was about, that this is how things go. And knowing that being a 32nd round pick, that I would have to hit the ground running with whatever opportunity I got. So I just remember sitting there thinking to myself, like, I'm not going to be that guy that's at home. I will be here, and I will be here beyond that. And that was something that I truly believed, like, in my heart. And it was never a question that I wouldn't have success and move on. And that's how I took it. But Nick, you had a little bit of a different experience with that. And why don't you get into that?
Well, like I said, I kind of forgot about that meeting until you brought it up to me. And I think it kind of shows, like, I was always brought up on the mantra of, just outwork everybody. And, if you like produce, you get opportunity. So I was a little naive to the fact that I was now entering, the business side of the game, where, like, for my whole life up until that point, it was, hey, you take care of your business, you're going to be rewarded for it. So I was just, it was whatever to me. And I think that me being naive about that actually helped me, because I didn't realize, like, how much the deck was stacked against me. Where for you, like you alluded to, having your brother who had been there and done that and gone through the ranks as a minor leaguer into, his big league career, he gave you insight as to how this is going to
Yeah,
be and what that meant for you, being a guy that was drafted where you were, and the uphill battle that you were facing. So on one side of it, were extremely prepared and understood what exactly you were getting into. And me, I didn't have that. So I really had no idea. I thought it was just like, hey, there's 40 guys here. You got to be better than 40 guys. And it was like, okay, let's go. And I didn't
right.
really worry about, hey, where I was drafted or how much money I got out of the draft or where I stood in the organization's eyes. It was just like, okay, like, get on the field, take care of your business, and you'll be rewarded for it. So I
Sure.
I was, like I said, I was a little more naive to that fact. And I think that really helped me, because I started to find later on in my career, when I started understanding the business side of it and how this thing worked, that it kind of made me think about things that I shouldn't have been thinking about, and worried
Sure.
about things that had no bearing on me, myself, and where I wanted to go. So, as far as that meeting, I when you brought it up, I remember the meeting. I remember, like, sitting there and hearing them talk. Like I said, I wouldn't have remembered. It was so removed, and I didn't really pay any mind to it, because it was just like, all right, here we go. Do what you've done your whole life. And that's kind of the message my father instilled in me from a young age, was just like, you don't like it, play better, like, play better than everybody,
Yeah.
and go take care of what you have to take care of, and you'll be okay. So that's just kind of, that's how I took it. I wasn't
Yeah.
worried about them telling me,
When
what
I,
it was going to be.
I think I mean, what you said is perfect. And I think that kind of speaks to somebody that's listening to this podcast that has, desire, hopes and dreams to get to the highest level, can hear and say, there is not a one size fits all approach to how this thing goes. However, that mental focus of taking care of your business on the field is what's most important, no matter what. Um, and like you said, you were unaware of how that business aspect were to work, so you didn't even think about it. It was just, hey, I'm going to come in every single day. And to your credit, man, having, because those first couple of years, you weren't really given a fair look as other guys that were drafted before you, and giving you more, had signed for more money. So for you to be able to stay there and stay locked in and focused. I mean, this guy is a gym rat, was in there working, hitting, always just wanting to be better. And when your time came for an opportunity, you were ready for it. And I think that's what a lot of guys don't realize. I think they think when they get drafted, or even when as a college player, you get on field for your freshman year, or you finally make the team, the varsity team in high school, or whatever it may be, you think, hey, the job's done, where we're not even close. The job's done when you hang up the cleats and you put it away. And that's kind of something that I think if you pay attention to this podcast, it's things that you'll hear over and over and over, that guys that will come on here, they'll talk about how they had to face adversity. and go through things, and all different experiences and all different walks of life. But I mean, to your credit, man, you were able to just stay in there and just keep going and keep going. But like you said, I think we both kind of are at fault for it later on in our careers. We both kind of thought, hey, we've been doing this, we've been playing well. Like, when's our real chance at the major league level going to come? And it just kind of affected. I know it affected me, and I could point to the years of my career where I have down years where I'm worried about, why am I not getting an opportunity? Why am I not, being called up? Things that I can't control. And then next thing I know, I look up and it's July and I got a 7 ERA on the board, and it's like, gosh, man, like that all that stuff that's long gone. Like, we need to lock it in, and it by that point it's too late. So I think the most important thing, if you're going to take one thing away from this pod, is that just being present and being focused on what you are doing each and every day is the most important thing, and all the other stuff really doesn't matter.
Well, and that's kind of, for me, been why I wanted to get into this, is because being around kids at, the youth at the amateur level from 10 years old up until college, I work with many different skill sets, many different dreams, and many different kids in terms of where they want to take this game. And I, you see a lot of times kids get frustrated about their current situations and, where they're hitting in the order, or the position they're playing, or whatever it may be. And one thing that I think we are going to hit on is the sense that opportunities are not created equal in
Absolutely.
at any point in your career. They're just
Yeah.
not. In high school, it's who knows who, or in college, it's this guy got this percentage scholarship, and then in pro
Yeah.
ball, this guy signed for this, or this guy was drafted here. So opportunities are not presented equal. But that doesn't mean that if you're the guy who's not going to get awarded the opportunities that some others may get, that you just bury your head in the sand. It's got to be used as a motivating factor to take you
definitely
where you want to go. And you alluded to it, being ready for opportunities. You know what I mean? Like, opportunities will come. There are opportunities that arise all the time. And it's like, how did you prepare for that opportunity? Did you get yourself ready? And are you ready to seize that opportunity? Because that might be the only one you get. And that was one of the lessons that I've learned, and I tried to instill and pass to the now younger generation of baseball players, is that you might get one, you might get two. There's really no telling how many opportunities you might get, but all you can control is, as cliche as it is, your attitude, your effort, and what you put into this thing. And the game has a funny way of rewarding those that put the time in and do the right thing. So I think through this podcast, you're going to hear, we're excited to get going because we have a lot of guests who have experience and who have, achieved a lot of success playing this game. And I think the key takeaway that most are going to take away is and you said it, there's not one roadmap. There is trials, tribulations, there's struggles that these guys all go through.
Yep.
But ultimately, it's the strong that survive, and that are, can look up at the end of it and be proud of and be content with what they've done. And it's a lot of times those guys that put in the work and the effort and did things that other guys didn't.
Right. And opportunities also come at different times too, like some guys are blessed physically at a younger age. Like, for example, we had touched on this, but with my brother, I mean, this dude was a physical specimen at a young age, right? So he was garnering a lot of interest early, and I was able to see that. And I mean, drafted in the 9th round out of high school at 17 years old, 18 years old, and was thrust into that lifestyle so much early. Whereas my opportunity didn't come till I was 23. So I think another thing that somebody might be able to take away from this, maybe it's the high school kid that, hasn't physically matured yet, or maybe the college guy that hasn't quite figured out that piece of his swing or that piece of his delivery or whatever it may be, to keep at it, because those opportunities can come at any point. I mean, and if your goal is to get to the major league level and you're watching how players are actually acquired now with the draft being so much shortened, free agent signings are huge, and guys can take that year off after college at 21, 22, go get better, increase whatever it is they're trying to increase, go catch on somewhere at an indie ball team or something like that and sign, and boom. And that's what your road may be. But if that is your goal, and you can look yourself in the mirror and say, this is my goal to be, a major league player, then you just keep going until something happens to where, you know what, it's not there anymore. And I really think that's something that you guys will hear about, and it'll be a common theme. But I think that takes us into what we hope to be one of our favorite parts of this podcast. And that is, as my co-host came up with, is the post-game presser, which, for those of you that know sports, after games or after episodes of podcasts, there's a post-game presser where people get to ask questions. So we hope that as our audience grows and becomes more and more familiar with us, that you guys will send in questions, whatever it is that you want to have answered by either Nick or I, and we'll have them answered. So if you have questions for us, we want you to send those in to punchinticketspod@gmail.com. That's punchinticketspod@gmail.com. And we'll get to those right away. But for today, in our inaugural episode, wow, that's not really coming off the tongue. Nick and I have decided to ask each other questions. So we hope you enjoy. And this is what I came up with for Nick, which you don't know. Nick came up through high school and youth ball, really just playing kind of everywhere. Mostly middle infield. He would also pitch. Just play everywhere. But he wasn't really a catcher. He didn't actually become a catcher really until college. So my question for him is, why did you start catching at such a very high level of baseball rather than earlier? And a second caveat to that is there someone or something that you felt really helped you turn the corner at that position? Obviously, with a catching being so difficult, and take yourself to the big leagues.
So I got recruited to go to college to play middle infield. So I actually played my freshman year as a second baseman. But in high school, I would mess around with catching. I played everywhere, dude. I played the outfield. I played the infield. I played first base. I played the corners, the middle. I played everywhere on the diamond. And I caught a little bit my senior year of high school, and show up to school. There's a need in the middle infield. So hit comes first. Like at the end of the day, man, if you hit, like, they're going to find somewhere for you to play. So there was a need in the middle infield. I played the middle infield. Fast forward to my sophomore year, we had a catcher leave and another catcher go down. So we were kind of thin behind the plate. And I had told our head coach, hey, I have some experience catching. Like, I'll throw the gear on. And that's essentially how my catching career started at the college level.
Wow.
Which happened to be a blessing for me because with what I was doing offensively at the time, and also being able to catch, it was huge. And there were a lot of teams too that were interested in me as more of a utility type guy, a guy that could play the infield and catch. The Royals saw me as more of just a catcher, so that's how I ended up strictly catching. But there were a couple teams interested in me doing both, which I think would have been pretty cool. But I think I think for me, just having the experience playing multiple positions, like giving me different viewpoints, playing everywhere, kind of helped me develop more of a knowledge for the game in its totality.
Sure.
I think it developed some athleticism. There were things that I had to do at different positions on the field that I didn't have to do in others. And then by the time I got behind the plate, I was just an athlete.
Sure.
I was a guy that hit. I was athletic behind the plate. I could move. I could do things behind the plate. probably not technically or mechanically sound, but athletic enough that I was able to survive and then ultimately get to the professional ranks and learn the nuance that comes with catching, which lends itself into your next question. We talked about Vance Wilson earlier, our AA manager, who was a big league catcher. Another guy who's a JUCO guy, ended up playing 8 years in the big leagues, with a ton of knowledge, especially for just in baseball, but
Yeah.
specifically behind the plate. And there were a lot of bumps and bruises along the way playing for him, and there were a lot of hard conversations that he had with me in regards to what I was doing behind the plate. But I never ran from it. I tried to learn as much as I can from him. He really took an interest in me and a liking to me and tried to help me as much as he can. And I took everything he said and tried to implement it into my game. And I think ultimately allowed me to, sit here today and say I had some time in the major leagues, and he was a huge part of it. So a lot of gratitude for him. And that's, kind of how I became a catcher and where I started and whatnot. So, yeah, and that's something I tell a lot of kids too, especially at a young age, is like play as much as you can because you never know. And it could just help you down the road depending on what your team needs.
Sure.
Yeah, well, that's essentially it.
Going back to Vance and how he, was hard on you, I think that just more, and you took it to heart and you really wanted to get better. I think that just kind of speaks to like who you are as a player, and why that organization, the Royals, started to pay attention to you, and to what you could do. He had to make a phone call and tell them, hey, like this guy's not going anywhere in that 2017 season. He's my catcher and he's the guy that I want to get better, and you guys need to pay attention. So if you can do that to a AA manager, and really anybody at that level, it's super impressive. And I think that's something to be really proud of. I'm proud of you for it.
Appreciate that. Thanks, kid. But all right, I got a question for you now. So my question for you, who you're going on year 11 or 10?
I think this is 10.
Professional.
Yeah,
10.
It's 10
Okay.
Season. Yep.
So, in a world that's dominated by velocity and lighting up radar guns, how does a southpaw like yourself, who doesn't light up the radar gun and doesn't flash high level velocity, how do you continue to toe the slab into your 30s? What is it about you, that your game, that allows you to continue to keep doing it? Because, dude, you could go to high school fields and see dudes that are throwing 88 to 90, but you're cutting outs against professional hitters and now doing it for a decade. How do you do that? And I think, sorry to cut you off. I want to make one point that I think is really important, is that you have, when I look at your career, and like I said before, man, I'm damn proud of it, is
I appreciate
the
that.
the game tries to weed out guys like yourself, and you have drawn back on that and said, like, forget that. Like, I'm going to carve out a career for myself. So like, and I think there's so many more people that can resonate with you than there are with these guys that are just throwing triple digits on a nightly basis. So your story and your roadmap, I think, really can affect and resonate with a lot of pitchers nowadays. So yeah, if you could just touch on that, that'd be awesome.
Sure. Well, first I want to start with that I have tried to throw harder in my career. Trust me, it's something that I'm still even looking for at this current point. But I think the biggest thing is throughout my whole life, especially like from an early age, I was never afraid of anybody on the mound. And I think that's number one. When I see a guy that's, can throw 95, 97, 100, and you can tell they're pitching scared, I'm like, what's going on? You've got all of it. You know what I mean? Whereas for me, I didn't have it, but I'm coming out there and I'm coming at you right away from pitch one. And I think that's a major key to getting outs, maybe not punching out 12 per 9 a year, but we're still getting outs. I think that mentality of being on the attack, and you as a hitter can probably attest to this, is when you got a guy that's able to throw, 3-4 pitches for strikes and just be on you, no breath. You get no breath as a hitter. And what I mean by that is you're not getting to those 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, 3-0, 3-1 counts often where the hitter is like, hey, I can take a breath. It's 0-1, it's 0-2, it's 1-2, and you're like, I gotta be from the hitter. You're like, I gotta be on my, and it's really difficult to hit. I mean, if all those guys out there that play baseball at any level, you should know that hitting is hard. And so as a pitcher, why make it easier for them by trying to dance around it? And I think there's a little bit more to it. Obviously you want to be able to have some nice pitch shapes, a slider that you can land early in the count, and then you could also put guys away with it. But the main thing for me, and I can look back on my career and really think about the years that I dominated, and it was just, I'm coming at you. I don't care if I'm throwing 88. I'm coming at you 0-1, 0-0 with a heater, like hit it. And you know what? Take my chances. So I think that mentality is really the main thing that guys are just afraid to get hit. And that's something that you just cannot have on the mound. You got to be able to come out there and put your nuts on the rubber and say, let's go. Like, this is what I got today, and go from there. And good things happen, man. And when you're just watching baseball in general, when you're getting ahead of hitters, good things are going to happen. So I hope that there's guys out there that obviously are searching for, try and throw a little bit harder or spin the ball a little bit better. I don't discourage you from doing that. It's something that I've done, but don't let it get away from, who you are on the mound, because that is the most important thing, in my opinion, to being able to come in and year out and stay consistent.
So you have balls on the mound.
Absolutely. You got to have balls. And then, dude, and it's funny when the years that, we talked about it earlier, but the years that I wasn't very good, I was worried. I'm like, dude, I can't, if I want to get to the biggest, I got to have a 1, I got to have a 0. I can't give up any. And it's like right then and there, you're choking before you even threw the ball. So that's really the main thing. And that's something that I've had to find again here in Taiwan. And I'm not even in the major league level in Taiwan right now. I'm sitting here in the minor leagues pitching at 2:00 in 95-degree weather and the humidity. And you know what? Like, I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm going to come at these guys no matter what. And that's kind of where I want to, when it's all said and done, that's kind of what I want to remember for myself as a career, knowing that when I came and towed the mound, there was nothing else but, hey, me versus you, let's go right now.
And I think we could have our own podcast episode just talking about that right there. I think too many times now you see guys competing against a radar gun or a TrackMan or all this other stuff, when in reality, like, you boil it down to its simplest form, and it's me versus the guy 60 feet 6 inches away, right?
Sure.
Where a lot of times we're competing against this machine that's trying to tell us how good we are.
Right.
But what you don't know on the other end of that machine is there's a guy with a bat in his hand trying to kick your ass. So
100%.
You know what I mean? So I think that is a huge component to this, because it makes sense why you see guys with electric stuff that, I mean, guys that should be 10-year big leaguers that really don't even get to the major leagues. And I think a lot of that has to do with their mind, what they're thinking, and how they like, it's almost like they're scared of contact, or they're scared of making that mistake out over the plate, and it leads to walks and thump and runs. And so I think that's an awesome point that I think next time we can kind of get into the weeds a little bit, or whenever, because there's going to be a lot more of these. There's going to be a lot of pitching development people that we're going to have on here, guys that have cutouts at the highest level and the biggest moments at the highest level. So we're super excited to give everybody some insight as to, what makes these guys that do it at a high level, what makes them tick and what makes them productive year in and year out, even if it means, maybe there's a decline in stuff or, you
Right.
don't have it that day. You know what I mean? There's still
Yeah.
ways to navigate a lineup and get outs for yourself.
Yeah. Just to kind of piggyback that off really quick. I got to watch a former first rounder this offseason throw a bullpen. I'm not going to say who or what team he was with. But he was having a little trouble just commanding the ball in a bullpen. And I just was like, hey, like, what's going through your mind? Like, are you trying to attack like the glove? Like, are you trying to attack like the plate? And he's like, well, no, I'm worried. I'm thinking more about like what the spin axis out of my hand is going to be. And I'm like, and I think not to just totally discredit what's going on in the game, because there's obviously a lot of value, and we'll get into that later on. But when you're towing the slab and it's a competitive setting like bullpen, that was the type of bullpen that he was in. It was a strike throwing bullpen. You need to be worried about just attacking, right? And we can't be worried about that other stuff. That other stuff is for a pitch design or whatever it may be at another time. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what's getting lost in some of this stuff without totally discrediting it, because there is a ton of value there. And as we get into these podcasts and have guests on, like a lot smarter people than myself can talk pitching and get in the weeds. But once that's over, it's me versus you, and we got to go.
I couldn't agree more. I see it all the time behind the plate.
Right.
Guys with electric stuff just not do it, and I can't help but think it's not physical. That's for damn sure. It's
Sure.
nothing about their physical attributes and what they're capable of doing with a ball in their hand. So you have to look at, okay, what's the mindset? What's the mentality? So yeah, dude, listen, I'm super excited about this. I think it's going to be a very valuable tool for a lot of players. I think it could even help some coaches along the way. Like, I think there's a broad scope of audience that I think we can reach, and I think that we can get through to. So I'm excited. I know it was a little choppy. Thanks for bearing with us, but you know what? It's only going to get better from here. If I could tell you one thing about Jake and I, we get into something, we're going to go at it, hoping to get better every single time. So this is new. We appreciate, you guys listening, and we look forward to getting on here more often and just talking baseball, man. I miss this. I miss talking baseball with people that are in it, that love it the way I do. So super excited, bro.
Yeah, me too, man. This has been a lot of fun, and we hope you all enjoyed it. We hope you all enjoyed that piece of the post-game presser also. So again, if you'd like to be featured on it and have some questions answered by Nick and I, again, that email is punchinticketspod@gmail.com. That's punchinticketspod@gmail.com. Thanks for everything, guys. We'll hope to see you next time.